Which brings us to the OTR pop quiz, and I have in my little hands the OTR pop quiz.
He loves this. This is his favorite part of the show.
We need the music. Would you provide the music for us?
I told you, I prefer karaoke.
Yeah, well,
I'm not the woman you want to bring with you to trivia.
Go ahead.
night,
There's
but
the microphone. You
karaoke,
got the
I'm
microphone.
here for
There's
ya.
the camera. All right, here we go. The state auditor has a lot to do about bean counting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with a question about the abacus. The ancient calculating device is still used in modern schools to teach numbers. Your question, as you can see on the screen, the user of an abacus is called what? An abacist, a numerist, or a weaver?
I'm going to go with A.
You nailed it. You see, we threw the weaver
Wow.
in there to be a little, deceitful, but you nailed it. Abacist. So let's take a leap forward in technology. Texas Instruments
one
invented
down, now the pressure's on,
You're
Janet.
1 for 1 now. You're going to try to go 2 for 2. Texas Instruments invented the handheld calculator. Your question, and this is true or false, that historic device was first introduced in 1975. Is that true or is that false?
I'm going to go with true.
It's false. It was first introduced in 1967. You're down to 500. I just don't want to put any more pressure on you.
Well, I used it in school,
you
so there
used
we
it,
go.
yeah.
It was before I was born. I can tell you that.
And it's not before I was born, by the way. So let's move on to money, specifically the U.S. dollar coin. The second Swedish dollar was the first minted in the year 2000. So on the screen, it's a yes or no question. The gold coin remains in wide circulation. The question is yes or no?
No.
No, you are now 2 for 3. In 2011, it was taken out of general circulation. It is still minted in limited numbers each year. So we're going to finish up at Wellesley, as we mentioned. That's your alma mater. Catherine Lee Bates was an English professor at Wellesley when a trip to the mountains inspired her to write the words that became America the Beautiful. So which mountains became the Purple Mountain Majesties? Was it the Berkshires? Was it the Great Smoky Mountains? Or was it the Rocky Mountains?
I'm not going to go with A.
Well, okay, there
I'm
you
out
go.
there quite
That
often.
works.
I'm out there quite often in the Berkshires. I am going to go with the between B and C. I'll go with B.
It is C,
Oh.
the Rocky Mountains, Pikes Peak, by the way,
We're almost
specifically,
there.
which was the original
All right,
title
2 for
of the
2.
poem.
We got 50%.
You
We'll
nailed
do
it,
better. I'll
50%.
practice next time, Janet, I
Bingo.
promise.
And karaoke every Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. Perfect.
Yes, exactly. And I'll see you there,
Yeah,
right?
I'll see you
there.
there.
We go.
Okay, back to the campaign. Last week, you accused your opponent, Anthony Amore, of sexism and of supporting Donald Trump, even though he has called for Trump's impeachment as a result, specifically because of January 6th. He also has moderate Charlie Baker's endorsement, who is a very popular governor. Are your charges a bit exaggerated?
Absolutely not. My opponent actually voted for Donald Trump in 2020, something that he has admitted to. Now, this was after Donald Trump had stacked the courts with justices who are anti-LGBTQ, who are anti-choice, and my opponent chose to still vote for Donald Trump to support his policies in 2020, something he, again, admitted to. Not only that, but my opponent also has screenshots of tweets that were deleted to the tune of 10,000-ish deleted tweets. Nearly 10,000 tweets were deleted from my opponent's Twitter account, in some of which he was actually defending Donald Trump on his different policies and on the accusations of sexual harassment, where my opponent actually says in writing, with his name attached to it, his Twitter handle, which again was deleted, says sexual harassment is not a crime. Now, the other day in the debate, my opponent actually said he had never tweeted that, but then continued on to actually say that he believes sexual harassment is not a crime. So, we have these tweets. They were, forwarded over to us.
In his defense, he does say the reason why they're deleted is because they're automatically deleted after a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
you don't
the
buy
age
that.
out.
You don't
And then
buy
he
that
went
argument?
on, and then he went on to continue to defend what was previously stated in that tweet, actually saying nearly the same exact thing that was said in that previous tweet as his own statement during the debate. So, someone who has defended Donald Trump on these various occasions and somebody who supported Donald Trump in 2020, certainly we have some concerns there. And look, Governor Baker is an incredibly popular governor, and he is somebody who is considered to be a moderate, certainly.
And he has not endorsed many people in running for office.
But, Anthony Amore does have Baker's confidence.
He's picked Anthony Amore.
Certainly, but Governor Baker didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2020. Governor Baker didn't have nearly 10,000 tweets deleted. Governor Baker doesn't have screenshots of, defending Donald Trump on issues such as sexual harassment. So there's quite a disparity there. there. And, Governor Baker isn't out there, supporting the Republican ticket right now. There is only one Republican he's supported. When I had challenged my Republican opponent on if he was supporting the gubernatorial candidate or any of the other Republican statewide candidates, he dodged the question, didn't answer, and said that he wasn't going to be telling who he was voting for. So
some people would say it shows
stake.
that he's more of a moderate Republican and he's not like the rest of the party in Massachusetts. And you don't think that's true?
Again, that's not what the record reflects. I know that that's the message that's trying to be spun right now. It is an election year, and certainly folks know that Trump does not poll well in Massachusetts, but you can't take back that you voted for him in 2020 and we're on the record online defending him for years on various issues, and there are screenshots of that. So
Speaking of on the record, next week on the record, Anthony Amore will be here, so he'll have an opportunity to respond to that directly.